Gardener. You got some tomatoes and stuff? All right, I need some. And he works for Montgomery County Department of Job and Family Service. Dennis Mullins is also a tamer of hair. Put your hands together for Dennis Mullins.
Thank you. So about 13 years ago, Catherine Mullins and I, and you all know Catherine, right? She's Dayton's Montessori guru. Some of you may know her as Katie Darby from Dayton's Great Band, Real Lulu. Catherine and I decided it was time to grow our family. And like all great family planning stories, it started in Kettering, Ohio, at Christopher's Restaurant. We were sitting in our favorite booth. I had the veggie burger. She was eating a Reuben with no meat. We shared a basket of fries. It was in that booth that we first talked about adoption, and it was in that booth that we decided adoption was the way we were going to grow our family. So we read a lot of books on adoption, and we made a lot of phone calls, and when I say we, I mean Catherine. Catherine made a lot of phone calls, and we decided that Catholic Social Services was the adoption agency that we were going to choose. We liked their view on open adoption and their support of the birth mothers both before and after adoption. So we were matched with a young pregnant woman from Columbus, Ohio, and we were invited to be at the birth of our son. So we got a phone call one night in May of 2006, and we drove to Columbus, and we made it to the hospital, and we were in the delivery room, and it was time. And so the midwife comes in, and she's dressed in what can only be described as a hazmat suit. She pointed at me, and she said, "You, I want you to grab her leg and push it forward when I tell you to." My brain said, "I'm only here to watch." But my body said, and I had front row seats to the birth of my son. So Elliot has a slightly different adoption story. Shortly after Isaac was born, we put our name in the hat to adopt again. Now, Elliot's story, we got a phone call on a Monday or Tuesday night about 2 years later, and it said, "On Thursday you get to meet your new son." We went to the foster parents' house, and this is me meeting Elliot for the first time, and we took him home about a week later. So adoptive parents have to jump through a lot of hoops to become parents, and the last of those hoops is the legal part. And this is Judge Alice McCollum, and I love this woman. She is technically and legally the person that made us parents. Thank you, Alice. So Catherine and I are fortunate to have a very diverse group of friends, and when the word went out that we had some brown little babies, there was like a bat signal in the sky that said something like, "Red alert, white people with brown babies." So we had plenty of advice on how to take care of little brown-skinned babies and their hair. And no two people more important to us are Jerry and Kay McConnell, or as we call them, Grandpa Jerry and Grandma Kay. Kay is the first person that said to us, "Now you know black people's hair and skin are different than white people." And I said, "No, I got this. My daughter Sage had very curly hair as a child. I can do this." She smiled and said, "I'll help." So when Isaac was about 15 months old, it was time for his first haircut, and Jerry introduced me to the Ruffins Barber Shop on Gettysburg near Hoover. And so the first time I went in there, Isaac went first, and I walked in, and it was just like the barber shop in the movie. There was a lot of people, there was a lot of talking, a lot of music going on, and I stepped in, and it all stopped. I could barely hear the needle going off the record. So we went in, and this is Alabama. He was the proprietor of Ruffin's Barber Shop, and you could tell by his smile what a great man he is. He made me feel comfortable. He made us feel great, except for maybe Elliot. He was a little upset. So hair grows. My mom always said that hair grows. And here's Isaac when he was about 5, when he was convinced that he wanted the biggest afro in the world. Isaac said that he wanted his afro so big that he couldn't walk through the door. The summer comes, and afro is like wearing a wool hat. So it's time to cut his hair. So if you know me, you know that I want to learn how to do everything. So I watched the movie. I've been to Ruffins. I saw Alabama do it, so I assumed I can cut little black boys' hair. So for the next couple of years, I was Isaac and Elliot's barber. Not too bad if you don't ask me. So, but I have a very specific skill set. I don't have a lot to say about this other than, yes, that's me in the 80s. I was a punk rocker. I'm gonna let that sink in for a second. So my skill set was soon not enough for my boy's hair, wants, and needs. So there's lots of things called lines and designs. And I just don't have that skill. So the boys now go to professional barber. If you look closely, that does indeed say nay-nay. And the other side of his head did indeed say whip. So here's the serious portion. So many of you may not have noticed this before, but when you go to the grocery store, there's something called the ethnic hair care aisle. And there's an entire industry devoted around black people's hair. And most of this industry is to try to make black people's hair look like white people. My kids have beautiful coarse hair, and I'd like to see this end. So language matters. Here's some things that people have said to me over the years. I'm going to talk about the first one. Why did she want to give her baby up? I don't like this term. Isaac and Elliot's birth mothers did not give their babies up. They made the most loving choice they could. They found a great home for their children. So African American, very briefly, this is the controversial part. I don't use the term African American anymore. If you look at the continent of Africa, there's all kinds of countries and cultures here. You can see Egypt and Libya. We would never consider calling somebody from Egypt African American, and why should we do it to the other countries? So I'm going to end with a quick story. When Elliot was about 12 months old, he and I were at Kroger, and I was at the checkout line, and he went running out the door, and I went running after him, and I snatched him up, and this beautiful brown-skinned woman who was about 50 years old reached out and tried to take him from me, and I said, like the proud papa I was, "It's okay, he's mine." So what's it like? Here's another question I get asked a lot. It comes in different ways, and essentially what they're saying is, what is it like to have a transracial family? And my answer is simple, and it's the same every time, and the answer is, I don't know. I only know what it's like to have my family. Thank you.
That was awesome. And Greg, you